I believe that is the final one, so.
Well, if there, I mean,
I was thinking of Robert, I'm sorry.
your committee will, come to an agreement on what's acceptable, or you won't. And it sounds to me like the process is almost done, you'd know if there's an issue, you know?
They're not just talking about now, they're talking about in the future.
Okay. All right.
I mean, it's not just the 2021 budget, but future budgets.
I think this should be, either,
Is this a Troy discussion perhaps?
probably a Troy discussion, and if not that, certainly, when we have a five-man board, there'll be five opinions versus three opinions, I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
So, I never heard of the budget ever being a closed vote. I don't know when you were there, if you ever had a dispute?
Really not, it's usually worked out, but.
Yeah,
It's what happens, and if there is a vote like that, there's a reason for it. I mean, there's a reason why, you know, you would have the objection during the three votes. And it is a contract issue, you don't just arbitrarily change the thing, you have to review the contract.
Okay. All right, anything else?
no, not
Okay.
at this time.
Park committee report?
The only thing that I discussed was what I told Greg was that the soccer goals were not property of the U43 soccer group. And so we now have permission to dispose of them.
All right, Booth Lake Memorial Park report, Kim?
We had a successful season, our budget was approved, and the monetary, contributions from each municipality are staying the same as they were.
Just a moment.
All right. Lake Beulah Management District report, Greg?
The management district, met on Tuesday, October 13th, at 5:30 here in this room. And it's scheduled to meet again Tuesday, December 15th. The aquatic plant harvesting is done for the year, and they've been removing buoys in the lake. That was completed, at the end of September, as well as the harvesting operation. I gave the town of East Troy report to the commissioners. I reported the 2020 launch fees, the reduction of local, town road speed limits, town hall improvements, that were discussed here tonight, and also the local, the youth journal funds. I also briefed the commissioners on the status of the junk nuisance remediation along Stringers Bridge Road, as well as the status of regulating the C4 district at Stringers Bridge. A question was asked from the audience, where the launch fees are placed in the budget.
They're part of the general fund, because they offset the cost of water patrol and manning the boat launch itself, so we don't make a lot of money from it. It's kind of in out.
It was reported that the Booth Lake drainage project has been put on hold for the winter. Yeah, but there have been unverified reports that the lake level is now only 6.5 inches off the high water mark. And that's down from the 24 inches above the high water mark in spring, which is due solely to natural evaporation. We're putting together our annual monitoring reports for the Village of East Troy, Goal number 7. And we're proposing to place monitors on the lake bottom, some along Wilmer's Landing, but also by Charles Alice, that will monitor the bottom of the lake to the impact of well number 7 on the chemistry and flow of the water from the lake. This is to monitor the spring action that feeds the lake, to make sure that well number 7 is not affecting that at all. We've had problems with the Lakeview and Management District piers at Double D's. People have been launching canoes and kayaks from these private piers. And the owner of Double D's was in the audience that night, and he stated he just does not encourage people to use the pier. And also presented a certificate of insurance, which is part of the deed restriction with the Lakeview Management District. It was also mentioned during the meeting that people are being directed to park at other lake locations, including Double D's, after they use the landing, and a possible source of this information might be the Wilmer's Landing attendants are telling people to park elsewhere around the lake. It includes access to Rhode Island, Lindy's, Dockside, all of the public lots along the lake.
Have we, had a chance to ground by that yet? I don't know who would be saying that.
Yes, I did have the opportunity to listen to that meeting via the internet, a YouTube video that John recorded.
Thanks, John.
No problem.
And when I heard that, the very next day, I got a hold of folks that tried to verify or unverify that. The people are not told where to go park. They are told that if the lot is full, okay, let me start over. Let's say that you have a boat and a trailer, and I'm going to meet you to go on your boat. If I don't have a trailer, I can't park in that lot. So the folks are told they can't park in that lot, but they can go to the subdivision that's on St. Peter's Road and park in there in the Walensky subdivision, because there's no signs up there that don't say no parking. They're also told that there are several eateries around the lake where if they want, they can go to those areas and they should ask the people who run those if they can park and perhaps get a meal. That's what they're told. And it's also been reported, one of the ladies told me that people have come back to her and said, well, that's a great place that you told me where to go to over at Double D's, because they sure do make a good meal and they let me park there, but it cost me $10. So,
Okay. All right, I think that's probably right where that started from, but as you know, the actual DNR regulations at that launch, there's 28 spaces, right? 29 spaces the attendant. Once there's 28 boats launched in that lake, no more can go in unless one comes off. That's why you see sometimes the line of cars, stacked up, waiting for somebody to come off so they can go. That's the busy days when you got the attendants.
can I add one thing, sir? There was also on that video mentioned that people are told to go park at Lindy's. Well, I would like to let you know that I've spoken with Lindy on several occasions during the summer, and not once has she ever brought up to me any concern about anyone parking there. She's never personally brought that up to me.
Okay, anything else, Craig? That is?
Yeah, I'm not done.
Okay.
The Lakeview Protection and Improvement Association gave a report on the fish stocking program in the lake. And the management district donated $1,000 to that program. The DNR last year released 1,000 walleye and 2,500 smallmouth bass into the lake. The DNR is charged with monitoring the results of that stocking program. They really haven't done that in a couple of years, but in the spring are starting that shocking program back up and counting fish. In addition to that, last last spring, the DNR released 20,000 trout fingerlings into the lake after the ice went out. And with, discussion ensued that the bass fishing has been reduced on the lake. Last year, during the Tuesday bass fishing night, we brought in close to 400 smallmouth bass this year. It was down to 85. And part of the reason for the decline, everybody's surmising, is that the bass are eating the trout fingerlings in the lake, and that might result in a reason why the fishing has declined on the lake. The trout don't reproduce, so it was a one-shot deal. But somebody also mentioned during the meeting that if you had a fish finder on your boat, you could locate actually like 600 schools of fish swimming in the deep water part of the lake, the trout lake, the deep water. As part of an increase in communication, the district is putting out a brochure with the district's mission statement, and they've asked the town board to contribute to that brochure. There's always seems to be confusion between the town of East Troy and the village of East Troy. Perhaps a statement about that, among other things, might be helpful. The Lake Beulah Hotel development was defeated by the Waldorf County zoning agency by a vote of 7-0 at their Thursday, October 15th meeting. And I think it's important to note that an important influence in that vote was the town of East Troy's new right-of-way ordinance that eliminated the 22 cars that they wanted to park in the right-of-way as part of their count for off-street parking. And without those cars, the off-street parking requirement fell short of what the ordinance required. A zoning commissioner made a statement before the vote that the agency was mandated to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the public, and that the proposed development had too many open questions with it for them to approve the conditional use. That's where
Right. Thank you very much. Recycling committee report, John?
Yes, the recycling grant, application was filed before the deadline. That included the 2021 estimated budget spreadsheet, et cetera. And the, electronic recycling on the third, the listening go quite well. It was around 10:30, 11. There was some activity at that point, so that seemed to be going quite well too. That's it?
Okay. Any library report?
Yes. Library report. This is the meeting of 13 October 20. The board directed Library Director Gartman to explore drafting a letter regarding permission of the use of the East Troy Library name by outside entities. Recently, there has been some authorized use of the East Troy Library name. One, the Lions Car Show in their advertisements referred to the library, and it was kind of evident there that they were, still very much part of the library building, which they're not. And the second situation was the Governor Evers Recall event, which was advertised to be held at the library. And this was without any approval from the library. Number 2, the approved updates to library patron policy was approved and the material selection policy was approved. Number 3, approval to form a committee to represent the library at the Kiwanis Heritage Board meetings for the purpose of the proposed Heritage Library project. And that was all from the 13 October meeting.
I did have a discussion with Mr. Gartman about what they're attempting to do with the funding formula. Apparently when all the library directors got together, we found out that a couple of small libraries in Walworth County were not getting any money this year, even though it was due. East Troy's got a very small increase, and in researching that funding formula, they found out it was so old that they didn't even know who wrote it, number one. Number two, it made no sense to the current, population scenario that's laid out now. So they have basically come to an agreement on they are gonna redo that formula. And hopefully that will help the East Troy Lions Library, because as we know, not only is the problem with the town's money and how it gets there,
Yes.
there's also the issue of the money that they do get from the Lakeshore Library System, whether it's equitable.
Yes.
The process has been, the bigger libraries continue to get huge increases, and the smaller ones, no increases, or some of them are 2, 3
Some of them
minus.
minus.
Yeah, they're minus, so.
Yeah.
Jeff is very aggressive on that, and hopefully something good will come out of that. Okay, thank you for both reports,
Thank you.
Christine. Okay, planning commission report.
We have 4 items on the planning commission report. The first one being a partial rezone from A3 to C2 at W1535 South Shore Drive, PET 9000408, Elizabeth Lanham, owner and applicant. What the applicant was trying to do was, she owns 16.2 acres on South Shore Drive. She wanted to separate 5 acres off to, her brother, in order to, buy her brother out of the half of the mother's house on the opposite side of the street that, was suddenly Beth's and David's, because the parent had died. The planning commission voted 7-0 to approve this. I believe the small parcel of the 5 acres that were broken off will go to a brother. It has a house on it, if I'm not mistaken, and the remainder of the property was to remain A3. So, with that, I ask that the town board, approve the partial rezone for, PET 9000408, Elizabeth Lanham. Sorry.
All right, we have a motion and a second. You have a question? Originally, when this was discussed at the first meeting, there was a discussion about that being rezoned to a C3, and it's since been corrected to C2,
Correct.
and it sounds like they were all in agreement with that.
I believe everybody was in agreement.
All right, and if you look at our smart growth plan, that is this area right here, and that is other agricultural, rural residential, other open land at 5 acres, so that answers the question where originally they were looking at, what, 2.5 acres? And
I
now
don't think it was ever 2.5, I thought it was always 5 acres.
The original request was 2.5 or 5, 2.5 was the
I'm sorry.
preferred, 5 would be acceptable.
Okay,
Thanks, Bob.
all right, so with that does answer my question on that, so on the motion, all in favor, say aye.
If it pleases the board, can we have discussion on this? And Kent, Julie, any thoughts? I just,
Hold 1 second,
okay,
is it public comments are over, are you in agreement that we allow this? You okay with me?
You should have a public comment later on too.
You got an issue on this one we just voted on?
yes, my name's Ron Clayton. I'm at N9234 South Shore Drive, been there for close to 60 years. So I grew up going up and down South Shore Drive. It's pretty highly congested on the lakeside. And South Shore Road is very narrow, there's no shoulders, it's getting more and more traffic all the time. It used to be just summer people, now it's year-round people. Now we've got Amazon delivering trucks that are going up and down, it seems like there's more Amazon trucks and people going back and forth sometimes. And I just wanna make sure that we're not putting too much strain on South Shore Drive. So we've had discussion tonight about narrow roads, no shoulders, that is exactly what South Shore Drive is. And I wanna make sure that, I don't think the town wants to put in a new road, I don't think you can widen it, I just wanna make sure that we're not developing too much of that property. It's just nice to have the farm, vacant land on one side, I can take the strain off of all the residents that live pretty close together on the lake side of there.
Okay, all right, understood. Yes, so that's the exact name,
Mary Quirk, I'm at 1522 South Shore Drive, I'm across the street from this property. I just wanted to know that it's 5 acres. She's going back and forth 2.55. I'd like to have it in writing that it's 5.
It's
Because
been
I'm
5
with Mr.
since,
Clayton here, we have so much traffic, then what's gonna prevent them from down the road doing another 5 or another 2.5?
because it's A3, it can't be subdivided into less than 11.
Right, but I had a discussion today, I really want 2.5, and I'm gonna get 2.5 because Darren at the county said I'm
I
gonna get 2.5.
Excuse me, I didn't say I'm going to get it. That was what Darren suggested I could ask for, because with permission, he said the zoning rules would have allowed that to happen. I did not have a problem in August when we met with changing to the 5 acres, and that was what was approved.
Right.
So I'm not asking it to be changed
I
at
don't know,
this
if you
point.
put the number in there, it
It's in there.
can't be under
It's
5, I
been
think.
five.
Should be in
My
there.
it's one lot and it's 5 acres. Yeah. Okay, very good. Anybody else on that? Yes.
Yes, Susan Clayton, N9234 South Shore Drive. My husband and I own a marsh that is just beyond the property in question. It's tax key number